Before we dive in, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button so this message can reach as many Americans as possible. We're doing our part to help save this country, and every bit of support counts. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel so we can keep pushing this message even further.
Let's take a brief look at the history of presidential gifts so we can understand why a $500 million jet from Qatar to the president isn't just sketchy, it is a screaming red flag with luxury leather seats. Because for over 2 centuries, American presidents knew better than to pull this kind of move. Since the very beginning, the Constitution's Emoluments Clause banned U.S. officials from accepting gifts from foreign powers without approval from Congress. Why? Because foreign nations don't give gifts, they buy loyalty. So when Nixon got pandas from China, those went to the National Zoo. When Obama got diamonds from Saudi Arabia, straight to the National Archives. Teddy Roosevelt got a lion. He didn't put it in his backyard. Even when Azerbaijan gave President Clinton a tapestry with his and Hillary's faces woven into it, it went to the American people, not his personal collection. But now, Qatar reportedly offered Trump a custom 747 jumbo jet, fully outfitted, worth $400 million. And the plan was he uses it as Air Force One, which only he's going to be able to use, and then keeps it for his presidential library, which is not how public service works. That's how a Bond villain retires. Ethics lawyers are sounding the alarm, because it's not just the jet, it's the precedent. If this goes through, what's next? A palace from Saudi Arabia? A tank from Russia? Presidents are supposed to serve the country, not get showered in private planes from oil monarchs. Every other president knew that. And if Trump doesn't, it's not just unethical, it's unconstitutional. Make sure to share this video if you think a gift that costs more than most aircraft carriers maybe shouldn't be accepted quietly.
News broke today that Republicans are going to try to pull off a magic trick. I'm referring, of course, to the news that Trump is said to be planning to accept a luxury 747 from Qatar in order to use as the new Air Force One. While that does raise a hefty amount of ethical questions, that's not the magic trick I'm talking about. The magic trick I'm referring to is that the Republicans who have been telling us, the American taxpayers, for months that Doggy is finding all this waste, fraud, and abuse, and the government spends too much money, and we need to reduce the size of the federal workforce, they're about to try to convince us now that it would be a really great idea if you and I and every other American taxpayer would fund a brand new toy for Donald Trump to use after he leaves office. But Joe, what do you mean the 747 is going to be a donation according to reporting? How is it going to cost American taxpayers anything? Well, in order to make any plane safe and functional to be used as Air Force One for the President of the United States, that's going to require an immense retrofit. Communications upgrades, the ability to refuel mid-air, countermeasures to defend against attacks, and being able to withstand nuclear fallout due to a nuclear attack. None of these things come standard from Boeing. To retrofit a 747 is going to cost an immense amount of money, all of which will be at our expense. And after Trump leaves office, we're getting conflicting reports about what happens next with the plane. A couple of sources says that it will be donated to the Trump Library. But that same source, the New York Times, is also reporting that Mr. Trump's own private plane, known as Trump Force One, is an older 757 jet that first flew in the early 1990s and was then used by the Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen. Trump bought it in 2011, and the Qatari jet, if Mr. Trump continued flying it after leaving office, would give him a substantially newer plane for his own use. We all know Trump's personality. We all know his shallowness, his materialism. Do you think there is any chance on God's green earth that he doesn't use that 747 any chance he gets after he leaves office? Call me old-fashioned, call me a socialist, but I'd rather have my tax dollars go to ensure that kids don't go hungry at school rather than making sure that Donald Trump has a brand new shiny toy to go to his golf course in. So here's my message to Republicans. If you accept the 747 as a gift and you retrofit it to make it safe to carry the President of the United States, that's no longer your plane. That's mine. And Donald Trump can't have it.
So in news today, it seems like Donald Trump is going to accept a luxury 747 from Qatar, and he doesn't know the Constitution, and he admitted that. But moreover, it's illegal against the Constitution to accept gifts from any other government official from any other country. This is Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8, and this specific law prevents from other government officials from other countries trying to bribe or try to get their hands into our government by giving gifts. While the president legally can accept gifts on behalf of the United States people, it has to actually be given to everybody. It can't just be one gift that he's accepting for himself. So he's going to use this specifically for Air Force One. And it reminds me of when the Soviets gave the United States president at the time a thing to hang on the wall that had our presidential seal on it for the White House, only for them to find out a couple years later that it was a listening device. That's what it's giving. How much do you want to bet that that thing's bugged? And they're just going to be listening to all the conversations that he has while he's on Air Force One.
So Trump is about to accept a $400 million gift from the royal family of Qatar in the form of a Boeing 747 Jumbo 8 plane. Even if this was just going to be used as a temporary upgrade for Air Force One until Boeing completes the new ones, it would still be a bribe. But what gets worse is that right before Trump leaves office, if he actually does, in 2027, this is going to be signed over to the Trump Library Foundation for Trump's personal use, which means he is going to get to keep this $400 million aircraft as a gift from a foreign head of state. The current minimal value for the annulments clause is $480, so Trump is going to tack 6 extra zeros onto that, and normally what you would have to do in this situation is pay the government back the value of that item. So in Trump's mind, somehow donating the plane to his own foundation counts as paying the government back for this bribe. I cannot wait to see what kind of quid pro quo Qatar gets through this, so we're going to have to keep an eye out on everything that Qatar does with the United States going forward. I mean, this couldn't have anything to do with the $5.5 billion beachside golf resort that the Trump organization is building in Qatar, right?
Nothing says America first like the President of the United States receiving a plane from Qatar to use as Air Force One. Donald Trump is set to receive the largest gift any president has ever received from a foreign national. The royal family of Qatar has gifted Donald Trump a Boeing 747 jumbo jet. This luxury plane will be used to replace Air Force One until the end of Donald Trump's term, which will then be transferred to the president's personal library of belongings. Trump is scheduled to fly to Qatar next week, where he will receive the gift, which is a $400 million plane that they describe as a luxury palace. It's causing some concern within the American government and American people because they're saying that it's not even sure if this is legal, even though the White House lawyers have approved it. The Emoluments Clause of the Constitution bars federal office holders from accepting any present, emolument, office, or title of any kind whatsoever from any king, prince, or foreign state without approval from Congress. But administration lawyers were given the gift as a green light. As someone who predicated their entire platform on America First, America Now, Buy American, Everything is American, to receive a plane that officially the president will use for the end of his term from a foreign government is really crazy. Imagine if any other president has accepted this bribe. Imagine if a teacher accepted a bribe, if a lawyer accepted a bribe, if a doctor accepted a bribe, but our president can accept a $400 million plane from a foreign family who represents a government. Wow.
No, taking a private jet from the royal family in Qatar would not be a bribe. That's not a bribe. Is it a bribe? Just because it's not one now doesn't mean it doesn't have future implications. As a presidential gift, Donald Trump is set to receive a 747-8 jumbo jet from the Qatari royal family. Not only will he be accepting this gift from the royal family, but he will then be turning this jet into the actual Air Force One for the next 4 years in office. Can't wait for the comments about how this is going to strengthen our relationship with the Middle East. You can strengthen your relationship without doing that. This will be the first time since the conception of plane, like Air Force One, that a president will be using a completely separate aircraft as their primary form of travel. There are many reasons and many times why presidents might have to take a different aircraft, but it's never been their actual primary form of travel. Would never be a gift from another country. So your question might be, can he accept a present this big? Is a gift this big actually an acceptable form, or is it a bribery? Technically, maybe. As per the Constitution, there would have to be congressional consent for this to happen. Additionally, there are a few things within the plane that don't make it currently as advanced as the Air Force One that is being utilized now and the future Air Force Ones that are to be used in the future. Boeing is actually creating new Air Force Ones because the two Air Force Ones now, they're 747s, there's only two, and they've been around for almost 3 decades. Now again, even though the two Air Force Ones now are almost 30 years old, they have highly modified capabilities that the jet coming from Qatar would not have in any way, shape, or form. They'd potentially be able to re-up it, but it probably would not have the same capacities. I don't think the additional safety precautions like the missile detection and the radiation detection are probably the top of like what my concern would be, and my concern would be the internal comms, who has access to that, and et cetera, which I'm sure is what a lot of intelligence people are wondering.
How fucking stupid do you have to be as the president of the United States to take an airplane as a gift from a foreign government, and then that's going to be the plane that you fly around in as the president? You think that that's secure? That they haven't bugged that plane? That there isn't like a button that will just drop that plane out of the sky if they so... Come on. Really? Oh my god. And then also, obviously, it's bribery.